Well, hello everybody and welcome once again to the Football Overseas YouTube channel and welcome to Game Week 9. Now we're getting close to some meaningful games, aren't we? Almost into double figures. So it's Game Week 9 this coming weekend in the English Championship, and that's what we're going to look at. The forthcoming fixtures this weekend and some predictions. But first of all, what a strange Game Week 8 we had in the midweek. A full programme of 12 fixtures. Not a single home win. When did that last happen? I would suggest it'll never happen in any league, other league in European club football. I can't believe that you can have a 12-game programme and not a single home win. Quite incredible. But that's what happened this week in the Championship. Just shows how really tight and cutthroat it is. No home advantage, and now it's gone out the window. Where are we in all this? Anyway, what have we got coming up? We've got a full programme across Friday, Saturday and Sunday, and an East Anglian derby to look forward to on Sunday lunchtime. So we'll come to that a bit later. So where are we in the league after this strange old midweek we've had? We've got Middlesbrough having their wings clipped a little bit at the top by Coventry. Coventry running out 4-0 winners at Millwall. So suddenly they found their goal-scoring boots away from home and put 4 past hapless Millwall. Middlesbrough had a tough 0-0 draw with Stoke at home. And down at the bottom, Sheffield United slipped up at home to Southampton after taking the lead. Manager getting sent off, kicking balls in the stand. Goodness knows what was going on at Bramall Lane the other evening. And Sheffield Wednesday picked up another point, I believe. Yes, in a 2-each draw against Birmingham. They were leading right until the end. What a shame they couldn't hang on to it for them. But they're 6 points now. They're in touch with everybody else in and around. So Sheffield United still cut adrift a little bit at the bottom. But they obviously are showing signs of getting better under Chris Wilder. He's only had 2 or 3 games. One more game, of course. This is always a pivotal one, I believe. I've said this many times before we head into the international break in October, for October. So, what have we got then? Let's get stuck into the fixtures. We've got, to kick us off on Friday night, sort of a battle of the teams that came up with a flourish and have got eyes on bigger prizes. It's not quite happened for them yet, and that's Wrexham against Birmingham City. So Wrexham 9 points, 15th place. Birmingham 11 points, 11th place. Okay, they're still finding their feet perhaps. Doesn't matter how many signings you make, how good you are. Even the teams that have dropped from the Premier finding it tricky in this league. It is not easy, and you need to have a bit of experience, a bit of know-how, and they've got to build that up if you've come up from League One, for sure. So, I think Wrexham, though, they're getting some better results, or improving results lately. Birmingham were behind until the very last minute, as I say, against Sheffield. Wrexham got a really credible draw at Leicester, so I think they'll take it under lights in front of their fans, kick us off on a Friday night. Wrexham 2, Birmingham City 1. Into Saturday lunchtime then, 3 games as always. And the first of those, Blackburn Rovers against Stoke City even. And Stoke City, as I say, ground out a 0-0 draw at Middlesbrough. They'll be pleased with that against the league leaders, I guess. Blackburn not so, losing 2-1 at home to Swansea. Yes, so Swansea, they're picking up a little bit as well themselves. But we'll get to them when we get to their match. But they're certainly knocking on the door. So a good win for them up at Blackburn. So what will Blackburn bounce back? I think this will be another draw for Stoke and another draw, obviously a draw for Blackburn. I can't see these being split. I'm going to go Blackburn Rovers 1, Stoke City 1. Takes us to Hull City, another Saturday lunchtime kick-off against Sheffield United. Now, as I say, Sheffield United were leading against Southampton. You just thought, are they turning the corner? But Southampton came back. A couple of cracking goals. The manager kicking, as I say, Sheffield United manager got himself red-carded. I did see that incident. He did boot it with a bit of frustration, but it just unfortunate. You can't do that, and it did hit a gentleman on the side of the head, I believe, which was all very all very unfortunate and unnecessary by Chris Wilder. But we know what he's like. He's got those passions in him. He's got those sentiments in him. He wears his heart on his sleeve, but he overstepped the mark there and was rightly red-carded, even though it was after the half-time whistle had gone. So we got Hull City, who came back very well from 2-0 down against Preston. And now Preston are a really tough nut to crack this season. So to do that against them was a good recovery. So I think they will. I think they're going to edge Sheffield United. That's my take on it. Got to get some home wins somewhere this week. So I'm going to go Hull City 2, Sheffield United 1. Across the city to the blue half, Sheffield Wednesday host Coventry. Now Coventry, as I say, have clipped Middlesbrough's wings to 2 points. And they'll be keen to maintain that momentum going into this international break. We have found their scoring boots once again. There are 4 more goals they put past Millwall on midweek. And Sheffield Wednesday, as I say, were leading until almost the last kick at St Andrews against Birmingham. So I think Coventry's momentum or revival. They haven't lost this season, I don't think, or they may have lost one, I have to say. But they've only dropped, they've dropped a few points from draws for sure. But I think the 4-0 win will have seen them travel back up the motorway to Sheffield on Saturday, and they'll take the points. Sheffield Wednesday 1, Coventry City 2. Then we come on to Bristol City against home to Queen Park Rangers. They had a decent, I suppose, 1-1 draw at home to Ipswich, but they did play pretty well, I have to say. I'm not giving my team a boost that they don't deserve. They did play pretty well against Ipswich. They just haven't still got that real ingredient up front that turns their good performances into wins. They've only lost once this season. That was a surprise one, wasn't it, to Oxford a few weeks ago. And Ipswich, obviously, dust down from the Premier League, still finding their feet. As I say, it doesn't matter whether you were in Premier or League One last year. In this league, it is tough. But Ipswich still got that game in hand from the abandonment a few weeks ago too. So I think Bristol City against Queen's Park Rangers. Bristol City will want to sign off this little pat period with a home win because this will be their 3rd home game in this little period, and they lost to Oxford, drew creditably with Ipswich, but they need to get the 3 points this week. I think they will. Another home win. Goodness me, what's going on? Bristol City 2, Queen's Park Rangers 1. Queen's Park Rangers, by the way, just to mention their result midweek, a disappointing 0-0 at home to Oxford. So that was a bit of a surprise because if nothing else, QPR do score goals if they concede a few, but all that went out the window in a 0-0. So there we are. On to the rest of the 3 o'clocks then. Derby County against Southampton. Derby County, 1-1 draw against Charlton, who had won their last 3, so looking like they were going to win another one, I believe. They were 1-0 up. But Derby pegged them back, got a useful point for them. Just keeps them above the line. Just to look at the league table, even after only a few games like this, it's still nice not to see you in trouble, isn't it? And Southampton, as I say, came back from a goal down at Sheffield United, which was good work by them, I think. They're having a bit of an up and down time, 14th at the moment. I think they'll put Derby away, though. I think they'll be too good for Derby on Saturday. I'm going to go Derby County 0, Southampton 2. Then we have Millwall, who are still nursing their sort of their wounds, I would think, having been hammered by Coventry at home. You don't like to be beaten at home at all, never mind by 4, goodness me. And they're home to West Bromwich Albion, who went to Norwich and chalked up, and I hadn't realised until it came, I should have probably been more aware of this. Norwich have yet to pick up a point at home. They've lost all 4 of their fixtures. Anyway, we'll come to them in a minute. But it's Millwall against West Brom, and I think West Brom will back up. They looked pretty good. I watched a bit of that game on Wednesday night, and they did look pretty good. Their transition was excellent, I thought. Some of the best transition football I've seen. In fact, their first goal, or the goal, was a shot by a Norwich player, Josh Sargent, and then 37 seconds later, West Brom have scored. So their transition there and their movement down the pitch was great, and it was great all night. They should have had a couple more goals. Norwich had their chances too, by the way. Norwich played pretty well, to be fair, considering they haven't got a point yet in front of their fans. Anyway, it's Millwall versus West Brom, this one, and I think it'll be another afternoon of difficulty for Millwall. I'm taking West Brom to back up their midweek performance that I've just said was pretty good. Millwall 0, West Brom 2 is my take on that one. Now, this is a tricky one, down at Fratton Park. Portsmouth really haven't got their home form in click at all, and it is, I believe, important to their cause, as we know how important it was to their cause last year. They absolutely ramped it up, didn't they? From about this time in October, they got going at home, and really, probably just after this international window, they said, right, they almost had a reset, and hardly lost at home at all for the rest of the season, which was the pivotal record for them being a championship side as we speak. They are home to table-topping Middlesbrough, although Middlesbrough, as I say, are feeling the heat from a couple of the teams now behind them, having dropped points. But I think they might just go down there and think, okay, let's get back on track here. Portsmouth's home form a bit flaky, for sure, against Watford in midweek. I watched a bit of that game again on Wednesday night, I believe that was. 1-0 up very early on. You think, there we go, Fratton, get the Fratton faithful on your side straight away. Didn't happen that way. Played very well first half. Didn't get that second goal. That's the killer blow in any football match. If you play well, don't get the second goal when you go 1-0 up, you are susceptible to what happened. And Watford turned it around in the second half to go 2-1 up. And then Portsmouth got the equaliser to save their day late on. So I think they will go down to Middlesbrough, I'm afraid, for Portsmouth. I say I'm afraid because I live in the city, but I'm not a fan, as I say, but you follow them as an interest in your postcode team, as you might say. So I'm going to say Portsmouth 1, Middlesbrough 3. A long trek for Middlesbrough, but I think they'll go home happy, pretty happy. 4 games to go then. We've got Preston North End against Charlton. Preston North End will be disappointed to be 2-0 up and then only get a point and a 2 each draw against Hull, albeit away, but nevertheless. The way they've played this season and the grittiness they've shown in defence, they'll be disappointed to have let that slip. And meanwhile, Charlton, as I say, were looking almost on target for their 4th successive win. However, they ended up taking a point at Derby. This is a toughie. I'm going to take Preston just to nick it just by a single goal. So Preston North End 1, Charlton Athletic 0. Then we go down to Swansea. Swansea City against Leicester City. Leicester City are having a bit of a bumpy ride, aren't they? They're just in the playoff zone, but I think they expected to be really taking this league. They're 5 points behind Middlesbrough at the moment. They just drawing a few too many for everyone's liking at Leicester, I would think. And I think they're going to add to that draw count this Saturday. They drew at home to Wrexham. Big 1-0 up. Wrexham got back at them. Swansea had that good win at Blackburn I mentioned a bit earlier on. So all in all, I think Swansea will give Leicester a real good game, as everybody out there. When you come down from the Premier, even though they were cut adrift a little bit, all 3 teams. They were still Premier Division team last year, and they're still there to be shot down, and that's what happens with these teams. Why it's so difficult to get going, for sometimes for these clubs. So I think it'll be Swansea City 2, Leicester City 2. Plenty of goals in that one. 2 to go then. Watford United, I just made up a team. Watford against Oxford United. And Watford, as I say, withstood what Fratton could throw at them on Wednesday night and managed to escape back up to London with a 1-each draw, Hertfordshire with a 1-each draw. Oxford ground out a 0-0 draw at QPR, so they're just still picking up points, but it's a tough gig for them at the moment, I think. by and large, they did have that. I know it hurts me to say this, repeat this. They did have that excellent win at Bristol City, but they haven't backed that up really since losing at home to Sheffield United and then, I suppose, an okay draw away from home against QPR, but no goals being scored all of a sudden. And I think Watford will ease past them on Saturday. I'm going to go Watford 2, Oxford United 1. And finally, as I said at the start of the clip, on Sunday we have the first East Anglian derby of the season. Of course, it didn't happen last year because Ipswich were up in the top table, as you might say. So it's Ipswich against Norwich City to start off your Sunday lunchtime or feast of football that usually happens on a Sunday. Ipswich, as I say, dug in for a good result up at Bristol City on Tuesday night. And Norwich City, as I say, lost their fourth home game of the season in front of an unhappy set of fans. But I think if you're a Norwich fan travelling, lucky enough to get a ticket and be there in person at Ipswich on Sunday, you've got to give your team the best shot. Forget what's gone on. This is a local derby. It's local pride at stake. Them going into work on a Monday morning and seeing fellow supporters of the opposition in the same office or factory or whatever you go. We've all been there. We all hate that, unless you're going on cloud nine because you're the victors. What can happen? I think Ipswich will run out winners. I know Norwich, I don't think I've lost an away game yet. It's a very odd sort of start for them. 8 points away from home, nothing at home. So I don't quite know what they're going to bring. You never know. But they are struggling a little bit. They're struggling to get the Manning message, if you what I might call it. I was never of those who've watched these clips over the last season or two. I was never a massive fan of Liam Manning. He got us to the top, Bristol City to the top 6. Norwich bought into that. I think seeing a similar club style there, but it hasn't quite worked out yet for him or them. Ipswich, as I say, ticking along. But they will really want to use this derby to kickstart, have a lovely 2 weeks in the sun, metaphorically speaking, of a derby win. I'm going to take that as well. I'm going to go Ipswich Town 3, Norwich City 1 on Sunday. So there we have it. Let's hope for some home wins for those teams who are at home. 12 games and no home wins. I still can't get over that. That's what happened this week. The Championship just throws up all sorts of things. Every week we have something to chat about that's quite extraordinary. I wonder what it'll be this week. I will be back for game week 10, and that's when it gets meaningful. Double-figure games. The league table starts to mean something. So let's see what comes out of game week 9. Have a great weekend, everybody. Enjoy whatever football you take on, and please, as importantly, please subscribe to the channel. Get your friends and family and colleagues and whoever can press a button and support the channel. They really do deserve your support. So thank you once again. Take care, stay healthy, and I'll see you all again very soon.